but you don't want to dry them. You don't want to like put them through your salad spinner. Need to deal with my cat. She's going to insist. Welcome to Earth Eats. I'm Kayte Young, and today we're going to make savory hand pies just stuffed with greens. So this is a great recipe for getting lots of greens into one meal. No one in your family is going to resist these delicious hand pies. For this pie crust recipe, I've got 2 cups of flour, and I always start my pie crust in the food processor. Tablespoon of sugar, I think, half teaspoon of salt, and then that paprika. Oh, it smells so good. I love smoked paprika, and that's going to give them a really great flavor and a gorgeous color when they bake up. Just get them well blended. 12 tablespoons of cold butter. Now for a flaky pie crust, the most important thing to remember is temperature. So you really want to have everything cold. You want to leave a few of these kind of pea-sized chunks of butter in there. When it goes into that hot oven, they kind of burst and they make those flaky pockets. So I think this is just about right. You also want your water to be ice cold. So you can just put some ice cubes in your measuring cup, or you can put it in the freezer like I did, in which case you'll have a big chunk of ice in there. It'll be hard to work with. I'm gonna put 3 tablespoons of ice cold water, and you're gonna sort of sprinkle it around there. And then you're incorporating. That is the word that I like to use, because you're not mixing. So you can see it's still quite dry and crumbly, and that's okay. This is starting to look good. I'm just gonna form it, take half of the mixture and make sort of a ball. Wrap those up. We're gonna put these in the fridge for at least 30 minutes, but they can be in there for hours. So for these hand pies, you can use any greens. You can use kale, spinach. I love to grow chard. It's one of the easiest things that grows here in Indiana. The great thing about chard is it doesn't really attract a lot of pests, though deer will nibble on it sometimes. It doesn't get a lot of diseases. I like to grow things that are successful. So this is golden beets, and the leaves are almost identical to chard. They have a little bit more earthy flavor maybe than the chard, but they're in the same family, and they perform really similarly to chard. So I like to just mix them in there. We'll head inside and get these hand pies going. The chard is the main ingredient here, and there's going to be a lot of it. You need 10 cups. To prepare the chard, we're just going to rip it off of the stem. I love the sound of that crunchy chard. It doesn't have any of that pepperiness or bitterness that some people don't like in like mustard greens or arugula, but yet it's got a little bit more interesting than spinach in its texture, I think. But it's really mild like spinach, and so it's versatile. You can use it in so many things. So you're gonna wanna wash these, but you don't wanna dry them. You wanna leave a little bit of the water clinging to them, because that's gonna be what helps steam them. This is 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Then we're gonna add our diced onions. That's a whole onion. 2 cloves of garlic. Add a little salt. A couple bay leaves in there. This is when the kitchen begins to smell good. Parsley. As your onion becomes translucent, you'll want to go ahead and start adding your greens. And you'll see how that water just serves as all the steaming liquid that you'll need And we can just put a lid over that to speed up that steaming a little bit. You can use some tongs to kind of turn it over in there. Got that bright green color, but I don't expect that to stay. So you might want to let these cool a little bit before you start cutting them, but the other thing you're going to want to look out for is you don't want all that liquid going into your filling. You just don't want to have anything big and difficult to spoon into a small pie dough. Gonna want to put it in a bowl. Gonna add our olives. These are chopped Kalamata olives. About a half a cup of those. I might have put more in because I love them. This is crumbled feta. You can use other cheeses, provolone, fontina, maybe goat cheese. I really like feta. I think it works really well with the olives. Put a few turns of pepper in there, and that is your filling. These are ready to go into the hand pies. And then start rolling. And you're gonna see that it's cracking. Don't worry, it's okay. The cracking means you did not overmix it, so be proud of yourself if your dough cracks. So you want this dough to be, I guess, about 1/8 of an inch thick, and you want to get it as even as possible. And then you take a cutter. You can use a jar or some other thing, circular cutting tool that you have. We're just going to cut some circles. And as long as you keep this nice and cold, you can sort of gather up the scraps and reuse them. We're going to want to chill these for a little bit. Let them chill. Oh, and look, I have some that are already chilled. The magic of television. These are now ready for their filling. You don't want to put a hot filling on this chilled dough. That just defeats your purpose. You also want to have a little bit of egg that has just been blended, and just put a few spoonfuls of this filling. And then you take your brush and put a little bit of egg around that edge. That's to seal it. And then you're gonna fold it kind of like you might a taco, and just press those edges together. Just use your fork tines to seal that edge. The very last step is brush the top with egg, and that'll just help it have a nice sheen. They'll brown a little bit nicer with the egg wash. Not too thick. They're all done. They smell delicious. You can really smell that smoked paprika. And yeah, we're ready to give them a try. I really love the contrast on the inside of these with that kind of deep, almost black filling. It's really nice. Just enough salt. I mean, that olive and the feta really bring that saltiness, and you got the creaminess from the feta too, which is really nice. The paprika is great. It really helps here to use a nice fresh paprika, not the one that's been sitting on your shelf for 5 years. That's really good. Thanks so much for joining us today for these savory hand pies. And if you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends, and you can follow us on all platforms at Earth Eats. Thanks, we'll see you next time.